Yesterday, I had the absolute pleasure of listening to amazing testimony on these patches. I'd love for you to listen to it. Age less, live more.
Well, thank you, April. So for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm a Candy Cannon. I'm a licensed massage therapist in Simpsonville. I've been hatching, it'll be almost 2.5 years next month. You can see it cringed when I look at my before picture up there. But that's where I started thinking I really was okay. When I began, I wasn't patching for myself at all. I began patching for the guy that you see in the picture. That's my sweet husband, Walt. He's 6'4", big guy. He's no prescription medications, former athlete, real healthy. All of a sudden, he developed a tremor in his left hand. And at first, it was maybe once a day, maybe twice a day, for a few seconds. I mean, it was nothing. And so I'm like, "You're fine. Eat a banana, drink some water." But over time, it became more and more frequent, more and more obvious. They would last longer. Then there were other symptoms that are happening alongside that they weren't on my radar. I didn't know anything about Parkinson's or tremor disorders, if you will, as far as the symptoms that typically go with. And again, I thought, this guy is like, he's the healthiest one of us all. He runs circles around the kids. I mean, as far as energy and the things he gets done. And by 10 a.m., he's done more than most people do, the whole day. So it really wasn't on my radar screen. And one night, I sleep on the left side. And one night, we had honestly kind of holding hands. And this hand started tremoring in his sleep. And it woke me up out of sound sleep. And it was like a lightning bolt just came and hit me in my chest and whole light. That, when you could just get that knowing, like, this is bad. This is real bad. And the mind just starts racing, like, it's not just the tremor. And this thing that was only happening every now and then is happening all day now, almost. And your mind just starts piecing things together. And so I do what everybody does. He's asleep. He has no idea. I get up and I get on Google at 3 a.m. And Google says he has 5 of the top 6 symptoms of early Parkinson's. Now, mind you, his grandfather had Parkinson's and he has a male cousin as well with it. So there maybe is a genetic something there. And I was just devastated. And I was like, that can't be. Our story is long and convoluted, but it's taken us a long time to find each other. And I wasn't going to this couldn't be how it ended. That's all I kept saying. This is not how this is going to end for us. So I called my friend Jennifer, who knows everything about everything health and wellness. And I'm like, if anybody knows what we can do, it's going to be this girl. And the next morning, she's back at my house. She's like, I found these patches. Let me bring you some. And I'm up all night. I'm reading. I'm just like April, listening to David Schmidt. What is X39? What does it do? What's in it? Is it safe? Is there any, complications, any contraindications of anything? And by the time she showed up at my door, I was all in. I was like, there's nothing in these patches. They're non-transdermal. They're perfectly safe. It's okay. Like, but does it work? It's really, you go to that place real fast, but it's a sticker. Come on. I mean, you couldn't really. But at the same time, what am I going to do? And while I might have scratched it, and the plan is, David Schmidt, the inventor of the technology, he says commit to a month for every decade of life. Walt was 58 at the time, so he and I talked about, he said, Candy, I'll get it 6 months. But if in 6 months this is still going on or I'm worse, we're going to a doctor. And I'm like, I agree, 100%. Well, by the end of the 5th week, his tremor was gone. It was gone. And 2.5 years later, knock on wood, has not come back. His other symptoms took longer to go away. Like, one of the big things for him was he had this fullness in his throat. It wasn't like anything you could see or wasn't inhibiting his eating or drinking, but he was like, I just feel like there's something back there, And another big concerning symptom was he had balance issue. That big guy. I mean, it maybe hard as helping a picture. I 5'8", and I'm much smaller than him. And so when he would stand from a seated position, he'd kind of like, ooh, stood out too fast, and he'd catch yourself. But when a big guy was that, and there was one day he actually fell off our boat dock into Lake Hartwell. I was getting down both his legs. I mean, it was the same kind of thing. Just got up and like, yeah, the world went, and then he went. So, but all of those things over time have gone away. So that's kind of what got me into the patches. If Walt was hatching, I was catching. And if I was hatching, my son, the little boy you see in her hospital bed, That's my son Christopher at 2 years old. Sorry, get out of breath in my talk. Yeah. But when he was 2 years old, he's 22, 26 months old. He went into a coma. Basically, he went into a diabetic coma. What they ended up telling me was type 1 diabetes. And that was the diagnosis. But since infants came on very suddenly, we had no warning, no family history. The doctor put like, oh, it's genetic. I'm sure, I got it from somebody. Well, guess what? We don't have any family history of that, but whatever. Nobody, that didn't matter. It was very touch and dog. He spent 4 days in the NICU. He was in a coma for, I think, 48 hours of that time. And they said, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. There's, not much we'll just have to see. And worst time of my life. So we get the diagnosis. It's type 1 diabetes. He'll be on insulin for the rest of his life. And if you're lucky, he'll keep his wind. He'll keep his eyesight. He'll maybe grow up to be an old man. Type 1 is painful. It's autoimmune. It ravages every system of your body. So as a mom, that's what propelled me into natural health and wellness, because I felt like the doctors, all they had was, there's insulin and we hope he does okay. Good luck with that. And not that they don't mean well, but at the same time, I needed more. If there was something I could do to move that needle a little bit to make those odds less, that scary complications lower, I was going to do it. So I found essential oils and I changed some things in our diet. We did different supplementation on CBD oil, anything I could do. And I'm sitting here today to tell you that, first of all, these things are more powerful than anything we've ever found to try. And secondly, if David Schnitt comes out with something else, you better believe I'm the first one in line to get it, because I believe that there are natural things we're not taught about that can do things, that our doctors just don't know. They're just not trained in this type of thing. And I do think that God has given us things to heal our bodies, and it's up to us to figure it out. It's just where we are. So all that to say, I started patching, Walt started patching, and Christopher started patching. And I think it was about 3 or 4 months after he started the patches, I had to call his endocrinologist, his pediatric endo, and I said, something, Tabby, he's having massive lows. Massive lows. And lows can be very, very dangerous. He said, what's going on? So he pulls up this, the printout of his readings. He wears a 24-hour monitor. He's, oh my gosh, you're getting way too much insulin. We got to cut this that. So we changed all the settings, lowered everything so he's not getting as much insulin. And that happened 3 times. 3 different times he had to change the settings in his pump because he no longer required so much insulin. And then, of course, his A1C kept coming down and being down and coming down. It's still higher than I would like. His latest A1C, I believe, was 6.2. But he's 19. He filet cook at Chick-fil-A, at Chipotle. Favorite. I'd let him be a kid, and that was always what I've done is, that balance that we try to do. I'm not going to chase you around with a blood sugar monitor and tell you all that is going to be hurtful for you in this, plate of Chick-fil-A or whatever it is, it's pizza that you're about to eat. We wanted him to be a kid first, but also we need to keep him healthy. So Christopher is thriving. He's doing fantastic. And then for me, I also, I didn't know I didn't have a diagnosis. Excuse me, you guys, my throat. I didn't have a diagnosis, but I highly suspect that my thyroid stopped thyroiding and possibly Hashimoto's. I had all the symptoms. It may be hard to solve in that picture, but I had almost no hair in the back of my head. It had all fallen out. Literally, you could see when the wind blew, you could see the back of my scalp. And as women, our hair is such a critical part of our identity. So I bought clip-ins and certain types of hair things that you could do in hats. I started wearing hats because I'm like, I just didn't want anybody to see the back of my head. It was horrible. I couldn't put it up anymore. It was breaking. Every time I wash it, I get fistfuls of my hair in the shower drain. It was awful. It's like traumatic, And so then I would brush it and like, what's actually left up there? Like this is always, surely I don't have anything left. That was the most, between that and my inflammation, massive, like April said, massive inflammation. My face was just so cuppy. My rings, I had actually called my sweet friend who I got my ring set from, and she's like, I got to get my ring size. They don't fit anymore. And like, I can't even wear them. Nothing fit anymore. My clothing didn't fit. I had put on an extra 30 pounds, which for me was very unusual. Felt like overnight, you know? And I was like, also on top of that, the big thing for me was the exhaustion, physical, bone deteriorating exhaustion. Like, if you can imagine, just bone tired is the best way I can describe it. So I would get up in the morning, as in Sasha was, I'd see all my clients in the morning. I wanted my last client gone by 12 o'clock. And if they wanted to stay and chat, which often they did, I was not okay with that because it was cutting against my gap time. Like, I gotta go. You don't understand. I still have a whole other half of this day I have to be able to get through. And, you know, and because, you know, get them out of the house by 12 o'clock or as close as I possibly could, because I could home office. And then I would nap in the afternoon, probably 2.5 hours every single day. That's what I did. And that was just so I could get through the second half of the day. And what he found is over time, you do that day after day, week after week, month after month, you're missing your life. You know, there'd be times my kids would be like, Mom, come with us. We're going to whatever. And they're like, I'm too tired. You know, our friends would call, say, hey, let's go out. There's a great band playing tonight. They start playing at 10. Guys, no, I'm not coming. You know, and I was missing out on my life. And so it really became for me a huge thing. But when I found these hatches, again, I was focused on them. So that's, as moms, any moms in the room, you'll get it. I mean, and wives, we care for others. That's what we're good at. We forget about ourselves. So it took me a minute to realize that I was getting better too. The first thing that I noticed is that my hair stopped falling out. That, you know, hair washing days were like, I'd embrace myself. Oh, how much am I going to lose today? That stopped happening. I looked down at the drain and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's only like 6 hairs in there. What is that? And I'd brush it again and it wasn't all falling out. The next thing that happened is I had alfalfa sprout all off the top of my head. I have pictures of that. I looked ridiculous, but I was so happy to have that problem because I didn't care. I was kidding and spraying and it just was like everywhere. It looked like Einstein hair, but it was like all growing in all of a sudden. And then after that, you know, it just grows longer and longer. And my hair cells is like, oh my gosh, what do I do without losing the growth? And then here 2 years later, I'm really doing great. All the weight came off. The 30 pounds, I'm back to the size I've always been my whole life. My rings, I never ended up having to get those size. So, I mean, it's little things, but together it makes a big difference. So if you hear all of our stories, as you hear our stories, it's going to be different for all of us. We're all dealing with different things. The point is that it works. The patches absolutely work as long as you don't quit before you get your miracle. So stick with it and just watch your miracle happen and embrace it. And